Let's begin by queering up students and youth culture. Here's why DeSantis wants Don't Say Gay, as new study reveals 30% of Gen Z identify as LGBTQ+. A recent survey found that more than 1 in 4 adults from Gen Z in the U.S. identify as LGBTQ+. This is a higher percentage compared to previous generations. The survey conducted by the Public Religion Research Institute revealed that 28% of Gen Z adults identify as lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or queer. In comparison, 10% of all adults, 16% of millennials, 7% of Generation X, 4% of baby boomers, and 4% of the silent generation identify as LGBTQ+. The survey also highlighted that Gen Z adults are more diverse in terms of ethnicity and race. They are less likely to follow established religions and less likely to identify as Republicans. The survey included over 6,600 participants. The president of the Human Rights Campaign, Kelley Robinson, emphasized the importance of LGBTQ+ visibility, especially with the upcoming elections, as Gen Z is seen as a force for positive change. According to the American Civil Liberties Union, in 2023, a record number of over 500 anti-LGBTQ+ bills were introduced into state legislatures, with 75 of them being signed into law. A Gallup poll from last year reported that 7.2% of U.S. adults identify as LGBTQ+, and nearly 20% of them belong to Generation Z. Queer identification and acceptance is growing the younger the population gets. Gen Alpha may grow even larger than Gen Z. No wonder DeSantis is scared of Gen Z and any generation following it. He deliberately passes laws like Don't Say Gay with the hope to vanish the strongly growing sentiment of inclusivity from the upcoming generations who will eventually become eligible voters. Reduction of visibility seems to be his goal. DeSantis is carrying a false hope of bending the narrative in favor of conservatism, but the surveys like these show he is likely going to fail. Time certainly will tell. You know, what an interesting, story. And yeah, I know that like people always say that, oh, you gays want everybody to be gay, right? You make everybody gay. You make everything gay. It's not our fault. We're growing in numbers. I mean, and that's just huge to talk about. We did a whole story on Gen Alpha a couple of weeks ago and how they are going to be taking over the world and making things right? They're being raised with inclusivity already. Mm-hmm. And so, of course, DeSantis is afraid of them, I'm more afraid of them not voting. That is my biggest fear, right? Because again, I also, whenever I talk to a Gen Zer or a millennial, they think that we messed up the world for them, right? Yeah. And instead of saying, hey, let's take over and let's vote towards the greater good, some are just kind of like just desensitized by the whole thing and are just like, whatever happens, and that's that.
Well, the reason why they're desensitized is because they know that they're not being represented. They know that the voice in government is not theirs. So why should they get involved? Right. Why should they be interested? But the story is correct in that I see it every day. The students are way more progressive and way more embracing.
And way more fluid and way more aware of their sexual identity.
And not even like putting a label on it as such, saying I'm straight, gay, this, and whatever, because it's as you say, it's not fluid enough. Yeah. It's too static. Yeah.
Oh, I only hope that by the time the DeSantis spawn come of age, in whatever generation they belong to, that identifying as LGBTQ+ or whatever letter has been added, it's as commonplace as ordinary and ordinary as breathing. I hope it's not a big deal if any of those kids happen to come out.
Well, and I think that's what you see in the numbers from this survey, right? Mm-hmm. Because older generations, it's not necessarily that there were fewer gay people or there were fewer LGBTQ+ identifying people.
Dangerous to come out.
It was too dangerous to come out. Yeah. You didn't identify that way. And
But do you wonder if the boomers are less represented because of the huge loss to the community during the AIDS crisis?
Right,
do you think that there might have been more?
It's a big point.
Possible.
Yeah. It's a big point. I don't meet that many men my age, really.
Don't be telling people your age.
Yeah. No, but it's a thing. It's a true point.
There are many reasons for all of it. And the other thing is that as more and more of the population is different ethnically, it has also changed. And as those generations grow up in the United States, they grow up in a society, especially in the urban societies, that are not prejudiced on those issues. So they're more comfortable. Also, with the greater reflection of LGBTQ people of color on television and in film, you start to feel safer. Yeah. And it's when you feel safe that you can be yourself. And that's really what we're seeing, is a society that doesn't have time for pretense.
Yeah.
And so more and more people just say, okay, this is just who I am.
And access to information too, social media, which we did not have many years ago, of course.
Yeah.
It's a whole different world.
It's a whole different world, but like Ty said, I mean, it's okay. So Gen Z is born 1990s to 2010s, okay? So that means somebody could be 13 years old right now and a Gen Zer, right? But these Don't Say Gay bills are targeted to them.
Right.
They're the ones that are dealing with this, and they're not even allowed to vote right now, and they're like the biggest hurt from all of this. So it'll be interesting to see. I really hope that this evolution continues, just being fluid and just being more open, and the inclusivity, because they weren't raised how we were,
Right.
But only time will tell. But stick it to DeSantis no matter what.